just wanted to jump on and point a few things out at this particular stage. So I masked off the character and the negative space and the highlights that I wanted to protect, and then I went in with a loose abstract start with an idea that I wanted mole kind of sat at the edge of the river with trees arcing around, and I was, rather than trying to channel this observation, I thought, how about channeling this more so? And I've kind of got between the two, I would say, so far. I love the passages of colour that are coming through. Obviously working in the studio, I can use the wet paints. I'm not carrying a big set out with me. But now I've got a much more designed piece rather than an observed piece, or an observed plus a bit of imagination. Can you see the difference? And I wouldn't have got here without going to there, or even going to there. So these are informative steps. They kind of, once you get to this stage, you're deciding, I only want a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a suggestion of this. And some things can still be linked back to the observation. Some things are partially resolved. Some things have an abstract beginning and scratched back or wiped back. There's an openness, there's a negative space, there's unfinished edges. Colour is starting to give mood, and suddenly all of these things that I love to find in a painting or in a sketch, I can now evidence in this. And it just makes it a lot more personal, because with confidence you can link it back to who you are and what you love. And that's exactly how you develop your style, by getting really clear on this section. So I'm gonna go back to time lapse and work into this and see what happens next. And here we are. So what we've got is quite a chilled, happy scene, and it's the colours that are giving that vibe. We've got space to breathe because of all of this negative space, and because I love the brush marks of the masking tape that I put down, it's kind of worked in my favour. It's quite a loose, natural expression of movement, so that worked really well. I thought this was going to be a bit of a pain, as in it was possibly too described, but I smudged it and it calmed it down. I, at the 11th hour, turned the jacket into a purple with yellow checks, or yellow with purple checks, not quite sure, just because I wanted to, even though the yellow looked good and looked happy, this just gave a little bit of close detail, and I know the yellow will vibrate really well against the purple, so I wanted to exploit that a bit more. And I've kind of echoed pinky purples in and around as well, just to sort of make it feel part of the scene. And I think what's really striking to me is I can see something from most drawings of last week. So if we have a look at, we've got a bit of this mark making going on, some of this going on. We've got some lily pads just very abstractly shown there. Haven't got anything of that one. Possibly a little bit of this. I wouldn't say the composition is as strong, so this still wins on composition. So I could have really gone to town with maybe the curve of the bark and the bark of the tree. But, you know, you can't have everything. So what else did I feed in? So obviously this is our observational sketch, which now today looks really dull and muted, and it might be that the pastels smudged quite a bit, but it was the engine for our idea. This, obviously, from a colour perspective, the pinks and the yellow greens really inspired me, and just sort of figuring out, you know, what was my mark making for lots, a suggestion of lots of leaves rather than drawing every single leaf. I think with the lilies in this one, I kind of just kept that quite loose. And then obviously this one yesterday, haven't actually put the swift in. It looks a more peaceful scene to me. I could play around with a swift in terms of a bit of collage, but it's almost like you could imagine the text on a picture book, maybe here, saying, this is something like, Mole loved to go to the river. This is where he thunk his thoughts, that sort of thing. This definitely helped me. It reminded me what I loved, and it just made me be really deliberate about it. So I can see most of this in here. And so it was quite a journey to get to this point. And very often that's the case. You have got an idea in your mind's eye, but you've got to visually get out all sorts of variations until you land on something that you think, ah, now it's coming together. So I hope you found that process or insight into that process useful. It's layered, it can be complex, it can be personal. So my advice to you is this is the key. And if you can get this down and keep revisiting this from the other day, you will get somewhere that visually speaks to you, visually connects with you. And that's your style starting to come through then. Hope it was helpful. Let me know what you think and how you get on, and shout if you get stuck.